Now it's time for more movers in the market. What you need to know, Schwab Network's Vadas is here, and she's looking at some names to watch. First up, E.l.f. Beauty.
Yes.
Even a sell. We see a sell-off here. This was a darling for a while.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bad quarter. It actually cleared the bar as far as the revenue and EPS was concerned. It seems to be the margin pressure that is the concern here, particularly with its exposure to China. But let me run you through the numbers because it is down over 10% in trade this morning. So investors seem to have a few worries about what's going on here, particularly alongside their commentary with regards to what they've been saying with a volatile macro environment. We did see EPS coming at 89 cents versus the streets at 84 estimates, and we did actually see revenue coming in at 353.74 million versus the expectations of 349.44. But the profits did fall 30% in the fiscal quarter, and that is as the new Chinese tariffs very much took effect and started to impact the bottom line here at this company. So net income falling to $33.3 million, which was down, as I said, 30% from a year ago. Now, it does source about 75% of its goods from China. We do know that it has been raising its prices to try to offset some of the tariff impact. It's also been looking at other markets, looking to expand and diversify those supply chains. But it does also say, as far as the guidance is concerned, that it is expecting sales growth to be above 9% in the first half of the year, and adjusted earnings margins to be 20% compared with 23% in the first half of the previous fiscal year. So, as I mentioned, alongside the earnings report, as far as what the company has been saying, there was an interview with CNBC where the CEO had been talking about the great deal of uncertainty very much on the tariffs. Remembering we are waiting for that August 12th deadline, and there has even been some suggestion in media reports this morning that, you know, they're talking about potential for the trade truce to be kicked down the road even further to really delay what could be, you know, triple-digit tariffs on places like China. But it does very much seem like that is weighing on the stock this morning, Nicole, as far as what they're saying about some of that margin pressure. And, you know, I suppose we have to wait and see as to, you know, how successful some of the diversification of those supply chains are actually going to be.
That's why makeup was always so great, because they had these high margins, and now it's getting cut into. You know, that's a different. They did have the double beat, but as you noted, not making what they used to make per unit or whatever. They're also working with athletes and trying to bring up their sponsorships and things like that. I saw 4 bold athletes that they're putting on board, but really it has come up off the lows. But you know, a tough day here. Final quick thought.
Yeah, well, I was talking to John Campbell yesterday on the show about this particular company, and, you know, he seemed to be quite optimistic that if you're willing to swallow a bit of, you know, China risk exposure here, this is a name worth looking at because of the fact that it does, to your point, Nicole, have a very strong presence with that millennial part of the demographic. You know, while it does have a fully outsourced supply chain, they are trying to work around, you know, moving production away from China. And, you know, he seemed fairly positive on that, and that they could continue to see growth, particularly as they're looking to, you know, expand with regards to square footage in places like Target and Walgreens. And I was also just looking at a headline about how, you know, they're also talking about price increases and a Sephora expansion. So, you know, as far as margins, they are trying to, you know, make some changes and improvements there.
So we've seen Fortinet go from $114. I mean, this stock lately is terrible. This big candle, you know, downwards. Now you have 25% drop. What's going on?
It's interesting because, again, this company seemed to clear the bar as far as the earnings are concerned, but as you can see, they basically fell off a cliff off the back of this report. We saw adjusted EPS of 64 cents versus the street's estimates of 59. Revenue came in $1.63 billion, which was bang in line with expectations there. So all in all, there was a lot to like in this, and even the company themselves saying that they had a strong second quarter performance and consistent track record of growth. This is a direct result, they say, of continued innovation in customer-first strategy. They say this has enabled them to beat their billings guidance for the quarter and raise the full-year billings outlook. But it does very much seem to be down perhaps to what they're guiding here that seems to be the issue as far as investors are concerned, what's driving the sentiment. Perhaps a bit of slight downward revision to the guidance is what got people concerned here today. For the third quarter of 2025, they're expecting revenue in the range of 1.67 billion to 1.73 billion, and then for the fiscal year 2025, expecting in the range of 6.675 billion to 6.825 billion. But I mean, to your point, it's been such an interesting story with this one because, you know, I was looking at some media reports around this and some of the commentary coming out that, you know, is looking at this company as far as the reaction we saw in the pre-market. It did say that while, you know, the revenue guidance has been marginally lower than expected, there is a view out there that the drastic sell-off seems to be a little bit excessive here for a company like that. But, you know, there has also been some suggestion that Fortinet stock, and perhaps to your point, Nicole, has been trading at a premium valuation, and maybe the fact that they have come in, you know, shy as far as some of the guidance is concerned has just rattled investors a little bit this morning.
Okay, down 25% for Fortinet. Let's take a look here at Celsius,
Yes.
which is up almost 20%. You know, they made
story.
that distribution deal with, I guess, Pepsi it was, and they were in all these cases. Everywhere you went, the Celsius was right in the front. That was great. That was a long time ago. And now, what is the latest? Why are we seeing a boost today?
Alani Nu, and certainly that acquisition that we saw back in April seems to be helping things as far as this earnings report is concerned. The stock is absolutely jumping this morning, as we can see here, handily clearing estimates as far as the Q2 earnings, EPS of 47 cents versus 23, which were the estimates, revenue of 739.26 million versus 645.48 million, and that was up 84% to a record here. And we've seen a Truist analyst being quoted in one media report saying, in an earnings season full of disappointment, these results stand out. And the company is putting this down to demand for the energy drink portfolio. It boasts now a 17% share of the energy drink category. Retail sales for that were up 3% year on year and 18% quarter on quarter. It's also been talking up, as I said, the Alani Nu acquisition back in April. Retail sales specifically for that, 129% year on year and 39% up quarter on quarter. So there had been a lot of bullish views heading into this, and so no doubt having cleared the bar as far as the earnings, the revenue is concerned, seems to be what investors are cheering here. You know, high bar, cleared it. Shares are up over 60% this year. They're still off the record high, though, suffice to say, Nicole, that we saw, I think, in May 2024, so last year. But, you know, I suppose then the next big question is, what's next for this stock? You know, what takes it this next leg higher?
This is impressive. This is one of the few names that really has surged in a big way on earnings. I mean, we've seen some up arrows and down arrows, but there haven't been too many that have taken off 20% to the upside.
No, that's right. So we're at a 52-week high today, and you know, to that analyst point over at Truist, I mean, it really stands out in what has been some disappointment, particularly with regard to the consumer-exposed names.
All right, Sam Vadas, thank you so much. Great to see you with three key names there. We looked at E.l.f. Beauty, Fortinet, and also Celsius.